The courtroom went silent. Victoria's hand trembled as she gripped the mahogany table. Her lawyer wouldn't look at her. The judge adjusted his glasses, scanning the document one more time before speaking the words that would shatter her world. Mrs. Harrington, based on the evidence presented and the prenuptial agreement you signed, which, I must say, is one of the most airtight contracts I've seen in 30 years, you are entitled to zero marital assets. Furthermore, you are ordered to pay Mr. Harrington's legal fees in full. Victoria's face drained of color. What? No. He didn't even have a lawyer. I watched him sign it like an idiot. Alexander sat perfectly still across the room, his expression unreadable. Then, for the first time in 2 years, he smiled. Your Honor, he said quietly, I didn't need a lawyer. I own the firm. Want to know how a gold digger's perfect plan turned into the worst mistake of her life? Hit that like button right now, because this story gets wild. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for the ending. Let's go. 3 years earlier, the rain hammered against the windows of Lumiere, the most expensive restaurant in Greenwich, Connecticut. Victoria Ashford sat at table 7, scrolling through Instagram, barely touching her truffle pasta. 28 years old. Platinum blonde hair that cost more than most people's rent. Skin that had never known a drugstore product. She was waiting for her date. Some hedge fund guy her friend Sloan had set her up with, but he was already 40 minutes late. Excuse me? She looked up, annoyed. Standing there was Alexander Crane, 32, average height, dark hair, slightly messy from the rain, wearing a gray suit that looked fine, not designer, just fine. He had kind eyes, the type that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. I think your date isn't coming, he said gently. I overheard the hostess. He called and canceled 20 minutes ago. They didn't want to embarrass you. Victoria's jaw dropped. Are you serious? Unfortunately. Alexander hesitated. Look, I know this is weird, but I'm here alone too. My dinner meeting got pushed back an hour. Would you like some company? No pressure. She studied him. He seemed harmless. Sweet, even. And honestly, the idea of sitting alone after being stood up made her stomach turn. Sure, she said. But you're buying. He laughed. Deal. That night changed everything. Alexander was different from the men she usually dated. He didn't talk about his car or his stock portfolio. He asked about her photography, her real passion, not the Instagram influencer thing she did for money. He listened, actually listened. When she mentioned her dream of opening a gallery one day, he didn't laugh. He asked what kind of art she'd feature. You're really easy to talk to, she said as they shared tiramisu. What do you do? Corporate stuff, he said, waving it off. Honestly, it's boring. I'd rather hear more about you. Red flag? Maybe. But Victoria didn't care. She was hooked. Over the next 3 months, they were inseparable. Alexander picked her up in his old Honda Civic, took her to diners instead of 5-star restaurants, wore the same rotation of 5 button-down shirts. Victoria's friends whispered behind her back. He's broke. Her best friend Sloan said over mimosas. Vicky, come on. You could do so much better. He's sweet, Victoria insisted. And he treats me right. What she didn't say, Alexander was safe. Predictable. He worshipped her. And after years of dating narcissistic rich boys who treated her like an accessory, someone who actually cared felt nice. But deep down, she knew she was settling. 6 months in, Alexander proposed at a quiet beach in the Hamptons. No flash mob, no helicopter, just him, her, and a simple platinum band. I know I'm not rich, he said, kneeling in the sand, but I promise I'll spend every day making you happy. Will you marry me? Victoria's heart did a tiny flip. He was so earnest, so genuine. Yes, she whispered. The ring was small. 2 carats, maybe. Her friends would judge. But when he slipped it on her finger, she felt something she hadn't expected. Power. Because Alexander Crane was hers. Completely, utterly hers. And she could shape this relationship however she wanted. The law office was cold, sterile. White walls, glass tables, the faint hum of air conditioning. Victoria sat across from Alexander, a thick stack of papers between them. The lawyer, some guy named Douglas from a firm she'd never heard of, slid the prenuptial agreement forward. "This is standard," Douglas said in a monotone voice. "Both parties should review with independent counsel before signing." Alexander picked up the pen immediately. Victoria blinked. "Wait, you're not getting a lawyer?" He shrugged. "I trust you." She almost laughed. "Babe, this is a legal contract. You should at least read it." "I skimmed it," he said, flipping to the last page. "Looks fair." Douglas shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Crane, I really do advise." "I'm good," Alexander interrupted, scribbling his signature. Victoria stared at him. Was he serious? She'd spent 2 weeks with her attorney crafting this thing to protect her trust fund, her future earnings, everything. The prenup heavily favored her. If they divorced, she'd walk away with at least half of whatever he had, plus alimony. And he was just signing it without even asking questions. She'd cover her mouth, pretending to cough, but really she was hiding a smile. "He's so naive," she thought. "Good thing I'm protecting us." Out loud, she said, "Alex, are you sure? I just want to make sure you're comfortable." "Completely," he said, meeting her eyes. "I love you, Vic. I'm not worried." The pen felt heavy in her hand as she signed her own name. Douglas collected the papers, still looking uneasy. "Congratulations," he muttered. As they left the office, Victoria looped her arm through Alexander's. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sloan. Did he sign it without a lawyer? OMG, you're going to be set. Victoria bit her lip to keep from grinning. The wedding was beautiful, small, elegant, at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Victoria wore Verawang. Alexander cried when she walked down the aisle. During the reception, while Alexander danced with his mother, Victoria pulled Sloan aside near the champagne fountain. "Can you believe he actually signed that prenup without reading it?" Victoria whispered, her eyes sparkling. Sloan snorted. "He's either the sweetest man alive or the dumbest." "Both, probably." Victoria took a sip of Dom Perignon. "But honestly, this works for me. He's stable, loyal, and if things don't work out..." She trailed off, raising her glass. "You'll be fine," Sloan finished. "Exactly." Victoria clinked her glass against Sloan's. "Give it 2 years, maybe 3. Once I'm established, once I've built my brand more, I'll see where I'm at." "You're terrible," Sloan giggled. "I'm practical," Victoria corrected. Across the room, Alexander caught her eye and waved, grinning like the happiest man on earth. She waved back, smiling wide. 2 years, she thought. Maybe 3. Then we'll see. Year 1. Married life was comfortable. They moved into a beautiful townhouse in Tribeca. Victoria assumed Alexander had gotten a loan, maybe maxed out credit cards. She didn't ask. The place was gorgeous. Exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, a kitchen that belonged in a magazine. "How can we afford this?" she asked once. "Work bonus," Alexander said casually. "Don't worry about it." She didn't. Victoria's Instagram took off. Brand deals, sponsorships. She was pulling in 6 figures a year just from posting photos. Alexander never complained about her spending. In fact, he encouraged it. "Get the Chanel bag," he'd say. "You work hard. You deserve it." She did. And the Gucci shoes. And the Cartier bracelet. Her friends loved him. "He's so supportive," they'd coo at brunch. But privately, Victoria was getting bored. Alexander was too available, too agreeable. When she snapped at him for leaving dishes in the sink, he apologized immediately. When she complained about his car, he laughed it off. He never fought back, never challenged her. Where's the fire? She wondered. Then she met Ryan. Ryan Calloway was everything Alexander wasn't. 6'3", chiseled jaw, arms that looked like they were carved from marble. He owned a boutique gym in Soho called Iron Temple, and Victoria started going 3 times a week. At first, it was innocent. He corrected her form, gave her protein shake recommendations, made her laugh during burpees. Then one day, after an intense session, he handed her a cold towel and let his hand linger on hers. "You're incredible," he said, his voice low. Your husband's a lucky guy. Victoria's pulse quickened. He is, isn't he? Ryan smirked. Does he know what he has? Not really, she admitted. That night, she went home and kissed Alexander on the cheek like nothing happened. But something had shifted. 2 months later, she and Ryan started sleeping together. It was reckless, stupid, but God, it felt good. Ryan made her feel alive in a way Alexander never had. He was dangerous, unpredictable. He'd pull her into the gym's back office between clients, kiss her hard against the wall, whisper things that made her forget her own name. You deserve better than him, Ryan said one night, lying in her hotel room bed. Some boring corporate guy who doesn't even know how to dress. Victoria laughed, trailing her fingers across his chest. He's sweet, though. Sweet doesn't pay the bills, Ryan muttered. Actually, Victoria bit her lip. I do okay. My influencer stuff brings in a lot, and we have the prenup. If we split, I'm set. Ryan sat up, interested. Yeah. She grinned. I mean, he signed it without even reading it. Didn't get a lawyer. Nothing. Ryan's eyes gleamed. So if you divorce him, I'd walk away with at least half. Probably more. She stretched, luxuriating in the sheets. But I'm not ready yet. I need another year or so to build my brand. Then, she shrugged. We'll see. Ryan kissed her neck. Smart girl. What Victoria didn't know, Alexander had hired a private investigator 3 months ago, and every single word she just said was recorded. Year 2, Alexander started changing. He was gone more often. Work trips, he'd say vaguely. Late nights. Weekend conferences. Victoria didn't care. It gave her more time with Ryan. But sometimes, she'd catch him staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. What? She'd snap. Nothing, he'd say softly. Just thinking. It unnerved her. One night, at a dinner party with her friends, Victoria got drunk and careless. Honestly, she slurred, gesturing at Alexander across the room. He's sweet, but let's be real, he'd be completely lost without me. Her friends laughed nervously. Alexander was 10 feet away. Well, within earshot, he didn't react, just sipped his water and smiled. But later, in the car ride home, the silence was suffocating. Did I embarrass you? Victoria asked, not really caring. No, Alexander said quietly. Good. She leaned back, closing her eyes. Because it's true. Alexander's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Yeah, he murmured. I know you think that. 2 years and 3 months into the marriage, Victoria made her move. She'd built her brand. 600,000 Instagram followers. A book deal in the works. Partnerships with major companies. And Ryan? He was pushing her. Leave him, Ryan said one afternoon, post-workout. You don't need him anymore. Victoria hesitated. It's complicated. No, it's not. You file. You take half. You move on. Ryan cupped her face. With me? That night, Victoria told Alexander she wanted a divorce. They were in the kitchen. Alexander was making tea. I'm not happy, she said simply. I haven't been for a while. I think we should split. Alexander set down the kettle, turned to face her. Okay, he said. She blinked. Okay. Yeah. He nodded. If that's what you want. I get the house, she said quickly. And alimony, the prenup says. I know what it says, Alexander interrupted gently. We'll go to court. Let the lawyers handle it. Victoria felt a flicker of unease. He was too calm. Fine, she said. Fine, he echoed. And that was it. 6 weeks later, Victoria walked into the courthouse in a cream-colored Chanel suit, feeling invincible. Her lawyer, a shark named Whitman, had assured her this would be a slam dunk. He didn't even have representation when he signed. Whitman said, "We're going to destroy him." Victoria smirked. Inside the courtroom, Alexander sat alone at the defendant's table. No lawyer, no briefcase. Idiot, Victoria thought. The judge entered. Everyone stood. and then Alexander spoke. Your Honor, before we begin, I'd like to submit additional evidence. He slid a folder across the bench. The judge opened it. His eyebrows shot up. Mr. Crane, is this accurate? Yes, Your Honor. Victoria's lawyer paled. The judge looked at Victoria, then back at Alexander. Mrs. Harrington. The judge said slowly, Did you know your husband is a majority shareholder and CEO of Harrington and Associates? Victoria froze. The law firm, the judge continued, one of the largest in the country? The room spun. Alexander stood, buttoning his jacket. I didn't lie, he said calmly, looking directly at Victoria. You just assumed I was beneath you. Victoria couldn't breathe. The judge's words echoed in her skull. Majority shareholder and CEO of Harrington and Associates. No, that was impossible. Alexander drove a beat-up Honda. He wore Old Navy button-downs. He'd never mentioned being a lawyer, let alone owning an entire firm. Her lawyer, Whitman, was frantically flipping through papers, sweat beading on his forehead. Your Honor, Whitman stammered, we weren't aware of... Clearly, the judge interrupted dryly. He turned to Alexander. Mr. Crane, please elaborate for the court. Alexander stood slowly, hands clasped in front of him. He looked different suddenly. Taller, sharper, like a mask had been ripped away. Your Honor, I founded Harrington and Associates 11 years ago, fresh out of Harvard Law. We specialize in corporate litigation and family law. We have offices in 7 states and employ over 3,000 attorneys. His voice was steady, professional. Nothing like the soft-spoken man Victoria thought she married. My personal net worth is approximately $470 million. The courtroom gasped. Victoria's vision blurred. $400 million? The prenuptial agreement Mrs. Harrington is attempting to enforce, Alexander continued, was drafted by my firm's top family law division. I personally oversaw every clause. He paused, including the ones she clearly didn't bother to read. Whitman shot to his feet. Objection. This is... Sit down, counselor, the judge said sharply. I want to hear this. Alexander pulled out a document. Section 12, subsection C. If either party engages in extramarital relations during the marriage, they forfeit all claims to marital assets and are responsible for the other party's legal fees. Victoria's stomach dropped. No. Section 18, Alexander continued, his voice like ice, states that any attempt to defraud or deceive regarding the terms of this agreement results in immediate nullification of all financial protections. He looked directly at Victoria for the first time. You mock me for signing without a lawyer, he said quietly. But I wrote the damn thing. Your Honor, I'd like to submit exhibit through M, Alexander said. A paralegal. Where'd she come from? Wheeled in a cart stacked with folders. The judge motioned forward. Alexander opened the first folder. Exhibit A. Photographs from a private investigator documenting Mrs. Harrington's affair with Ryan Calloway. Dated over 18 months, beginning 7 months into our marriage. Photos splashed across the overhead projector. Victoria and Ryan leaving hotels. Kissing in his car. Entering his apartment at midnight. Victoria wanted to die. Exhibit B. Audio recordings of Mrs. Harrington discussing her plans to divorce me and take at least half of what she believed were my assets. A recording played. Victoria's own voice filled the courtroom. Give it 2 years, maybe 3. Once I'm established, I'll clean him out. He signed the prenup like an idiot. Sloane's laughter in the background. Victoria buried her face in her hands. Exhibit C through F. Alexander continued mercilessly. Documented instances of Mrs. Harrington disparaging me publicly, spending marital funds on her affair partner and my personal favorite. Text messages where she and Mr. Calloway explicitly planned to take everything post-divorce. He slid a printed text thread forward. Ryan, once you dump him, we can finally do this right. Get a place together. Victoria, can't wait. Just need to make sure I get the house and the alimony first. He won't fight it. He's too soft. Ryan, you're brilliant. He has no idea what's coming. Victoria, asterisk never underestimate a woman with a prenup, and a stupid husband asterisk. The judge's expression hardened. Whitman looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Mrs. Harrington. The judge said coldly, "Do you have anything to say?" Victoria's mouth opened, closed. Her brain refused to form words. She whispered. "I didn't mean, I loved him, You just what?" The judge snapped. "Committed adultery? Plotted to defraud your husband? Mocked him in recorded conversations while planning to exploit a legal document you didn't bother to understand." Tears streamed down Victoria's face. Real ones this time. "Please, I made a mistake." "Multiple mistakes," Alexander said softly. The judge exhaled slowly. "Mr. Crane, what are you seeking?" "Full dissolution of marriage with prejudice," Alexander said. "Zero marital assets awarded to Mrs. Harrington. Full payment of my legal fees, which currently total approximately $600,000, and a restraining order preventing any future contact. $600,000. Victoria's entire body went numb. "Granted." The judge said immediately, "Mrs. Harrington, you are entitled to nothing. Furthermore, you will pay Mr. Crane's legal fees in full within 90 days or face wage garnishment. This court is adjourned." The gavel slammed. Victoria lunged toward Alexander as he packed his briefcase. "You tricked me," she screamed. "You lied about who you were." Alexander didn't even look up. "I never lied. You asked what I did. I said corporate work. That's true. You let me think you were nobody." Now he looked at her. His eyes were empty. "No, Victoria. You decided I was nobody. Because I didn't drive a Ferrari. Because I didn't wear Armani. Because I was kind to you." His voice dropped. "I gave you everything. My trust, my love, my honesty. And you threw away for a guy with biceps and no morals." "I loved you," she sobbed. "No," Alexander said quietly. "You loved what you thought I was. Controllable. Stupid. Safe." He closed his briefcase with a sharp click. "Turns out I was none of those things." He walked toward the door. "Wait!" Victoria grabbed his arm. "Please, Alex, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Can't we?" He gently removed her hand. "You mocked me for not having a lawyer," he said. "But I have thousands of them, and every single one reports to me." He walked out without looking back. Victoria collapsed into a chair, hyperventilating. Whitman approached cautiously. "Mrs. Harrington, about my fees." "Get away from me," she shrieked. 3 weeks before the final court date, Victoria had been on top of the world. She'd thrown a divorce party at her favorite rooftop bar in Manhattan. 60 guests, open bar, a custom cocktail called a breakup with edible gold flakes. She wore a white balmain dress, fresh blowout, makeup flawless. "To freedom," she toasted, champagne glass held high. "And to men who finally know when they're beaten." Everyone cheered. Sloan had recorded the whole thing for Instagram. Victoria posted a selfie caption. "Some men fold like lawn chairs, clinking glasses sparkles, hashtag new beginnings, hashtag divorce and thriving." She danced until 2 a.m., convinced Alexander would settle quietly. Hand over the house. Pay alimony. Disappear. Ryan had pulled her close on the dance floor. "Told you he'd give up." "They always do," Victoria had whispered back. That post got 43,000 likes. Now, sitting in her lawyer's office signing payment plan documents, Victoria scrolled past it with shaking hands. The comments had turned vicious. "This aged like milk." She thought she won skull. Imagine mocking someone for not having a lawyer when they owned a law firm. Divine karma. Someone had even made a TikTok using her party footage, overlaying it with courtroom audio of the judge ruling against her. It had 12 million views. Victoria deleted Instagram entirely. Victoria called Ryan 17 times a day after the court ruling. He didn't answer. Finally, she drove to Iron Temple, his gym. The front desk girl gave her a pitying look. "He's not here." "Where is he?" I don't think he wants to." Victoria pushed past her into the training area. Ryan was with a client, spotting her during bench press. When he saw Victoria, his face went pale. "Babe," Victoria said desperately. We need to talk. The client sat up confused. Ryan forced a smile. Give me 5 minutes, Jen. Once they were alone in his office, Victoria grabbed his hands. It's okay. We can still do this. It'll take me time to pay off the fees, but we can get a smaller place, start fresh. Ryan pulled away. Vic, I can't. She froze. What? It's too much. The money thing, the court stuff, everyone knows now. So, her voice rose. I thought you loved me. I did. I do. But, he ran a hand through his hair. I can't be with someone who's broke and in debt. That's not what I signed up for. The words hit like a slap. You're leaving me, Victoria whispered. You lied about being set. Ryan shot back. You said you'd walk away with millions. I thought we'd have a life. Vic, travel, nice things. So you only wanted me for money? Her voice cracked. Ryan had the decency to look ashamed. That's not look, it's just bad timing. Bad timing, Victoria repeated numbly. Yeah. He opened the office door. I think you should go. Victoria walked out like a ghost. Behind her, she heard Ryan's phone ring. He answered cheerfully. Hey, Jen. Yeah, I'm free tonight. 2 days later, Victoria received a certified letter. Dear Ms. Ashford, this letter serves as formal notice that Iron Temple Fitness LLC has been acquired by Harrington Holdings, a subsidiary of Harrington and Associates. Effective immediately, your membership is terminated. Please return all access cards within 72 hours. Additionally, Mr. Ryan Calloway's employment has been terminated for conduct violations. Best regards. Harrington Holdings legal team. Victoria read it 3 times. Alexander had bought Ryan's gym and fired him. She started laughing. Hysterical, broken laughter that turned into sobs. 6 months later, Alexander sat in his office on the 43rd floor, staring at the Manhattan skyline. His assistant knocked. Mr. Crane? Your 3 p.m. is here. Thanks, Delilah. A woman entered. Mid-30s, kind eyes, simple dress. Her name was Naomi, a nonprofit director he'd met at a fundraiser last month. Sorry I'm late, she said, smiling. Subway delay. No worries. He stood, pulling out her chair. How's the literacy program going? They talked for an hour. About books, about helping kids, about nothing and everything. At the end, as she gathered her things, Naomi hesitated. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. I saw the news. About your divorce. She looked at him carefully. Are you okay? Alexander was quiet for a long moment. I loved her, he finally said. That part was real. I would have given her everything. The money, the lifestyle, all of it, if she just loved me back. The actual me. He met Naomi's eyes. But she never saw me. Just what she thought I was. I'm sorry, Naomi said softly. Don't be. A small smile. I learned something important. Being underestimated isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the greatest advantage you can have. Naomi smiled back. Lunch next week? I'd like that. After she left, Alexander sat alone in his office. He didn't feel victorious. Not really. Just free. 6 months later. Victoria lived in a studio apartment in Queens now. The townhouse was gone. Sold to pay legal fees. Her Instagram sponsors dropped her when the story went viral. The book deal evaporated. She worked at a boutique in Soho. Retail. Folding sweaters for $16 an hour. Sometimes, old friends saw her. They'd quickly look away. Sloan had stopped returning her calls months ago. One night, scrolling Facebook on her cracked iPhone, Victoria saw a photo. Alexander and Naomi. At some charity gala. He was smiling, really smiling, in a way he never had with her. The caption read, Amazing night supporting NYC Reads with this brilliant woman. 3,000 likes. Victoria stared at the photo until her vision blurred. She'd had everything, and she destroyed it herself. The worst part? She couldn't even blame him. Ryan didn't fare much better. After getting fired from Iron Temple, He tried to start his own training business. But Alexander's lawyers had quietly inserted a non-compete clause when they bought the gym. Ryan couldn't operate any fitness business within 50 miles of New York City for 3 years. He moved to Phoenix. Last Victoria heard, he was managing a Gold's Gym and dating a 22-year-old. She didn't care anymore. 1 year after the divorce, Victoria sat in Central Park with a coffee. She'd gained weight, stopped dyeing her hair, wore drugstore makeup. She looked ordinary. Across the park, she saw him, Alexander, walking with Naomi, laughing at something she'd said. He looked lighter somehow, younger. Naomi said something and handed him an ice cream cone. He took a bite and made a face. Apparently it was too sweet. They both cracked up. Victoria watched them disappear into the crowd. And for the first time in a year, she didn't cry. She just sat there, holding her coffee, thinking about the girl who'd once mocked a man for being too trusting. That girl was gone. What was left was just her, alone. But maybe someday that'll be enough. Alexander never remarried Naomi, but they're still together. Victoria never apologized. Pride wouldn't let her. Ryan's gym in Phoenix went bankrupt 2 years later. And the prenup? It's now used as a case study in law schools across the country. Titled, The Dangers of Assumption. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The quiet ones aren't weak. They're just watching, learning, waiting. And when you underestimate them, that's when they strike. Victoria thought she was playing chess. But Alexander? He owned the board. So here's my question for you. If you were Alexander, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have walked away and let karma handle it? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know if you're Team Mercy or Team Revenge. And if this story had you on the edge of your seat, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got more stories like this coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss them. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's being underestimated. See you in the next one. End.